Welcome to this mock trial video focusing on the historic case of Berea College versus Kentucky World Affairs Council of Austin. We are examining the actual trial-level case of Berea College versus Kentucky from 1908. Berea College, an interracial institution, was criminally prosecuted for violating Kentucky's day law, which banned interracial education. Berea College was founded in 1855 as an explicitly interracial institution. After the day law passed in 1904, banning mixed-race education, the college refused to segregate its classrooms. The state indicted Berea as a corporation, making this a symbol of private institutions resisting Jim Crow laws. The day law of 1904 mandated segregation in public schools and targeted teacher training institutions. It was a calculated move to uphold white supremacy in education, designed to circumvent the separate but equal doctrine. The procedural posture began with a criminal indictment against Berea College. The Madison County Circuit Court found the college guilty. After the Kentucky Court of Appeals upheld the conviction, Berea appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. The prosecution's theory, as framed in the mock trial, focuses on a group advocating violence. The argument is that the Communist Labor Party endorsed revolutionary mass action, and supporting it violated the Criminal Syndicalism Act, regardless of personal intent. The college argued for academic liberty, claiming mandated military drills would erode liberal education's essence. The defense countered that the training was a complementary component of a complete education, citing precedents like the Morrill Act. The core dispute was contractual freedom versus state-mandated purpose. Berea argued their contract was a private commercial agreement. Kentucky's defense invoked the public interest doctrine, claiming the training served a vital public purpose, giving the state the right to dictate its execution. Regarding jurisdiction, the college claimed California law governed the contract. Kentucky countered that the training program, being an interstate commercial activity related to national defense, fell under their regulatory purview. This determined which state's law reigned in cross-border contracts. Financial viability was questioned. Berea argued the defense's demands would turn their modest surplus into a deficit. Kentucky called the surcharge reasonable compensation and claimed the college was withholding compliance with the training schedule. Both sides engaged in public relations campaigns. Berea framed the case as academic independence against militarism, while Kentucky emphasized national security amid the looming war. Public pressure created a backdrop that inevitably influenced the legal outcomes. Here we see the central conflict in the Berea College case, where academic freedom and racial equality stood against state laws mandating segregation. The college's top arguments focused on education as a fundamental right and the day law's unconstitutionality. They emphasized Berea's commitment to racial integration, the social benefits of equality, and the moral imperative of fair opportunity. Berea College's defense strategy centered on arguing that education is a fundamental right and that the day law unconstitutionally infringed on the college's rights. They stressed their long-standing commitment to racial integration and the moral imperative of equality. Dr. John Hall Patton, Berea's first white president, staunchly advocated for racial equality. He faced an ethical dilemma: comply with the day law or shatter the college's soul. His testimony emphasized the moral conflict of forced segregation. Patton, as the president, advocated for racial equality despite the day law. He refused to segregate, protecting the college's integrated mission. His testimony highlighted the moral imperative of unity. Mary E. Rivers, a black educator and former student, testified about the power of integrated education. Her testimony focused on how the day law stripped black students of dignity and future, highlighting the profound human cost of segregation. Mary Rivers, a former student and faculty member, powerfully testified about the benefits of integrated education. Her moving account highlighted the human cost of racial segregation and galvanized abolitionist circles. Levi Coffin Jr., son of a famed Underground Railroad conductor, served on Berea's board. His public advocacy maintained national attention on the college's struggle, linking the case to the abolitionist legacy of resistance. Coffin Jr., the son of a famous abolitionist, served on the Berea College board. His public statements ensured national attention on the college's plight, connecting their fight against segregation to the broader abolitionist movement. Key witnesses like Dr. Patton, Mary Rivers, and Levi Coffin Jr. collectively supported Berea's integrated mission. They testified about the human cost of segregation and highlighted the moral choice to actively resist Jim Crow laws. Opposing the college was Judge Robert D. Day, the law's namesake. He defended the segregation law as necessary to, quote, preserve order and tradition. His insistence that segregation is not cruelty if it is law revealed the legal justification for discrimination. Now we move to the prosecution's case, representing the state of Kentucky in their defense of the Day Law. Senator James B. Davis, principal author of the Day Law, defended it as a, quote, necessary safeguard of public peace. He framed the law as an exercise of state police power, responding to constituent unrest over the influx of African American students at Berea. Senator Davis defended the Day Law as essential for public peace and social order. His testimony provided a clear narrative of the law's legislative intent, framing it as a valid exercise of the state's police power. Reverend Elijah J. McCune provided a moral voice, warning that mixing races in education would, quote, tear asunder the community's soul. Judge Thomas Whitaker offered procedural support, detailing consistent lower court rulings that affirmed the law's validity, reinforcing the doctrine of stare decisis. Judge Whitaker explained the state court's rationale for upholding the Day Law. He cited clear statutory language and urged the Supreme Court to follow precedent, reinforcing the argument that the state's decision should stand. Reverend McCune, a local pastor, spoke of a, quote, divine order and warned against the, quote, perverse mixing of races. His remarks were used to illustrate the prevailing social sentiment and local customs supporting the Day Law. Store owner Margaret O'Neill described a, quote, palpable tension in her town following Berea's admission of black students. She argued the Day Law brought peace of mind, providing a human-scale illustration of the state's public order argument. The state's witnesses emphasized prevailing social sentiment, arguing segregation was necessary to preserve public peace. Their testimony reflected the local customs and mores, justifying the state's use of police power to enforce the Day Law. State witnesses defended segregation as necessary to preserve public peace, claiming the Day Law reflected local sentiment. The testimony about community unease was used to justify the state's exercise of police power. Police Chief Carver testified that mixed-race gatherings at Berea led to, quote, crowd control issues, arguing the Day Law was a pragmatic tool for public safety. Store owner O'Neill reinforced this by speaking of the palpable racial tension the law sought to calm. Chief Carver's testimony focused on public safety and law enforcement issues. He cited altercations resulting from interracial gatherings, asserting that the Day Law was a pragmatic tool to prevent conflict and supported the state's claim of maintaining public order. Maggie O'Neill, a local store owner, testified about the rising racial tension in her community near Berea College. Her account supported the state's public order arguments, claiming the Day Law provided families with peace of mind. The Circuit Court rendered a partial decision on March 3, 1908. While contractual freedom and educational autonomy were protected, Kentucky could enforce public interest clauses and an equipment surcharge. The ruling set a precedent. Private colleges could partner with the state, but must preserve their core academic mission. Kentucky's trial strategy focused on criminally prosecuting Berea College as a corporate defendant to enforce the Day Law. The state argued the law was necessary to maintain social order and suppress efforts toward racial equality in education. This concludes our video on the Berea College versus Kentucky World Affairs Council of Austin mock trial.